Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. We are back with another episode. We are officially in the NBA offseason, officially one day removed from Game 7 last night of the NBA Finals and the Kevin Durant trade, which in this video, we're going to be breaking down. I wanted to break it down yesterday, had a lot going on yesterday, plus Game 7, wanted to just enjoy and watch the game, and now we are officially into the offseason. Let's break down the trade. So, broke middle of the day, kind of early afternoon yesterday. Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the 10th overall pick in this year's draft on Wednesday, and 5 additional second-round picks. I love this for both sides. Let's start out talking about the Houston Rockets. I love this for the Houston Rockets because it puts them in a position to where they can really, truly compete in the Western Conference. I feel like this past year's team, yes, they were the number 2 seed, but they did lose to the 7th seed Golden State Warriors in the first round. They just had limitations and a ceiling on this past year's team. Now, adding on Kevin Durant, you're going to bring back Fred VanVleet. And with what you gave up, you're fine with giving up adding Kevin Durant to replace that Jalen Green role scoring-wise. Tari Eason, you can hope can take a jump. Same with Jabari Smith Jr., Alfred Sengun. Such a young team around Kevin Durant with a ton of athleticism and a great coach in Ime Udoka. I love this for the Houston Rockets perspective. Now, in the short term, the Rockets, I feel like, definitely won this trade. But in the long term, I think Phoenix is going to definitely win this trade. I think it's a win-win for both sides and what directions both teams are going into. But the Houston Rockets getting Kevin Durant, I think, makes them a serious threat in the Western Conference compared to how they were this year, to where, like, yes, very good team, but I feel like they were a young team, didn't have their offense completely figured out. I think Kevin Durant, with an offensive hub like Sengun, can really elevate this team to the next level. And like I said, this team was a 2 seed this past season. Adding Kevin Durant, I still would love to see them add maybe another veteran scorer off the bench, not any crazy name, but like, say if they were able to get like somebody like Jordan Clarkson, just some more shooting, some more spacing on that bench, because now when you're looking at this team, you're really focused on, can Reed Sheppard take that jump next year and be a more prominent player in the rotation. Same with Cam Whitmore. We know he can score and get downhill at will with his athleticism, but can he be more consistent when he does get the more consistent playing time, which has been rumored and talked about by Ime Udoka when they got eliminated in his postseason presser about how Cam Whitmore and Reed Sheppard are going to be very big in the rotation next year. Can those guys take jumps? What does Amen Thompson's jump look like? I know he was great this year, but I think Amen Thompson is more of a 1 than playing off the ball as a 2, so I'm interested to see that dynamic and how that goes forward. I think they definitely need to bring back Fred VanVleet on a more team-friendly deal. They're probably going to decline that team option of like $44 million, so they're probably going to have Fred VanVleet back on this roster for sure, because I feel like if you make the Kevin Durant move and then lose Fred VanVleet, I feel like that doesn't really defeat the purpose, but I feel like the leadership that comes with somebody like Kevin Durant and Fred VanVleet being veterans on this team, I think is going to go a long way. And Fred VanVleet, ever since he set foot in Houston, it's really turned the tides over there for their organization. So I think they need to bring him back. The Dillon Brooks one is tough because I think Dillon Brooks, say what you want about him, is a culture-setting player, and we'll talk about more of that with the Phoenix Suns. But for the Rockets, love this move. I'm interested to see what else they do. Like I said, I would love to see them maybe add one more shooter off that bench, seeing what they can do, because they were able to give up all the stuff that they were willing to give up. 10th overall pick, they're fine with that because they drafted Reed Sheppard 3rd overall last year, and he didn't even play this year, so you're fine with that. Dillon Brooks, you had to throw in to make the money work. It sucks because he was kind of a big reason in turning this Houston Rockets team around. And Jalen Green, who, yes, I still think has a ton of upside. I'm never going to be one to just give up on a young player, especially someone of Jalen Green's caliber, to where he still is a 18 to 22 point per game scorer at this young of an age. But I do think a change of scenery and just a better developmental system that they're building over there in Phoenix, I think is going to really, really help him, playing with somebody that plays his kind of style and where he's trying to get to in his career, and somebody like Devin Booker to kind of mentor him as well. I think is going to be huge. But for the Rockets, I love it. But I would like to see them add maybe one more shooter. But this opens the window. It's tough because they're in a tough Western Conference where, like, you add Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets, and yes, they were a 2 seed last year, but it's like, I got to talk about the questions too. I have to be honest with it, because Kevin Durant has missed a good amount of time in the past couple of years, getting injured at pretty much the worst possible times in the year for the Phoenix Suns at times. So looking at this, Like, can they allow Sengun to take a jump as well? Adding Kevin Durant, I think he gives them more shooting and spacing, but I still think they need a little bit more shooting on this team. But it's interesting to see. I feel like this trade shows that the Houston Rockets are really banking on the development of their young guys. Like I said, Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith Jr., they can hope can take another leap next to Kevin Durant. Sengun, what's the next step in his game and his evolution as a player? Like Fred VanVleet, I feel like we know what we're getting out of him at this point in his career. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think the lineup is probably going to be Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Durant, Jabari, Sengun. That's a ton of length, size, athleticism. I love that fit of all those players playing together, but it's like that bench. What are you going to get from Reed Shepard and Cam Whitmore going forward? That's something that worries me, because when we're looking at how just these playoffs unfolded, you have to have some depth. I feel like the teams that didn't have a whole lot of depth this year fell short. New York Knicks fell short. Denver Nuggets ended up falling short. Mind you, Denver Nuggets lost in the Game 7, but I feel like if they had a little bit more depth, they wouldn't even have got that far. So looking at that, depth is a huge, huge piece in today's NBA, and I really want to see the jumps that Reed Shepard and Cam Whitmore can take going into next year off that bench. Same with somebody like Atari Eason, seeing how much money he's going to get on the open market as well, and what other moves are going to be looking to make to kind of trim the edges and go into next year hoping to compete to make a deep playoff run. I'm not going to say this Kevin Durant trade makes them title contenders yet, because I still think there are some holes in this roster that they possibly need to address, even though they are getting somebody of the Kevin Durant caliber of player. But the Western Conference is tough. I still think in a 7-game series, I'm taking Denver. I'm taking OKC still, even though I love that matchup that they do provide against OKC. But those are the top two teams that like you got to go through to get far in the Western Conference playoffs. So I'm not going to say they're a championship contender, but I do think the Rockets took a great step and a great move to push themselves into the right direction going forward. Now, talk about the Phoenix Suns side of this trade. I love this for the Suns. Absolutely love this for the Suns. And I even glad that I didn't do this video right away, because they now reported that they're looking to keep Jalen Green, which I'm not mad at. I still think Jalen Green has a ton of upside in this league, and I think Jalen Green next to somebody like a Devin Booker who can help mentor Jalen Green, because they're kind of similar players, and I think Jalen Green's talent makes it easier for him to play the three rather than somebody like a Bradley Beal. So I think the fit with him and Devin Booker is going to work a lot better than the fit between him and like Bradley Beal and Devin Booker in terms of playing the 2 and the 3 and stuff like that. So from the Phoenix Suns point of view, you get Jalen Green, who's a young talent who's still just got extended. So he's going to be around for a couple years as well, as long as you do commit to keeping him. And I think there's still a lot of talent and upside there. And he's in the perfect position to where in Houston, I feel like he was looked at as being the one on this team. I just don't think that's him. I think he is a great 2, super really, really good 3. On a team. So I think him next to Devin Booker, I think that is going to be a really, really good fit, and a way better fit than him and Bradley Beal, because I think Jalen Green and his ability to just get downhill with his athleticism is going to give this Phoenix Suns team an element that they didn't have this past year. Past really couple years, is just somebody that can just get downhill at will with his athleticism. But another big piece in this is Dillon Brooks, somebody who, you can say what you want about Dillon Brooks, the antics and everything else like that, but Dillon Brooks to me is a culture setter. Dillon Brooks to me is going to bring a toughness to this Phoenix Suns team that they haven't had in the Devin Booker era, in my opinion. With how hard Devin Booker plays and how committed he is to winning, adding somebody like Dillon Brooks is a huge, huge, huge add for this Phoenix Suns team, and I really, really like them getting him. Another one was apparently the Rockets didn't want to give up Jabari Smith Jr. That's cool. If I'm the Suns, I'd rather just take your 10th pick. Now you have 2 first rounders in this year's draft. Cool, fine with that, because I think the Dillon Brooks addition, being a point of attack defender and just his mentality that he's going to help bring to this team alongside Devin Booker, I think is something that's going to light a fire under this Phoenix Suns team and kind of push them into the direction they eventually want to go in. Now, the 10th pick, I think is very interesting, because this is a very important pick here at 10, because I love a lot of the prospects and different routes that they can go. I know Phoenix is interested in a big. come on, Mally Watch might be a little bit too much of a project play for me. Because they could definitely go into free agency and address those needs, because now they're going to be under the second apron. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, okay, maybe you don't go big here because you can address it. You can bring Nick Richards back and you can address that in free agency as well. Or you could turn those 5 second-round picks and maybe seeing if you can go get somebody like a Robert Williams or something like that. But 10th overall pick, who do I like here? And I did just drop my final NBA mock draft, and I recorded that like 2 days ago. So the Phoenix Suns, I still had the Houston Rockets picking in that trade, but in that mock I had Colin Murray-Boyles going to the Houston Rockets, and I love that fit even more for Phoenix, because Phoenix, when you look at the past couple of years, they've always been enough offensively to keep themselves in games. They've always been good offensively to just be middle of the pack, higher end offense in the league, but it's the defense that really killed them, not having real rim protection, not really having a lot of guys on the perimeter that can really sit down and guard. But now you're adding, I'm not going to say Jalen Green's the best defender in the world, but you're adding somebody with more athleticism coming from a good defensive culture and system over here in Houston, plugging him into the Phoenix Suns. I feel like he's even just a plus defender on the perimeter from what they just had previously the past couple years. Now Dylan Brooks, you know how he is defensively. He's a pest. He's a dog. He's somebody I think that they really, really need on this team defensively. We know what Ryan Dunn has given them defensively. We're just waiting to see if that three-point shot can be consistent. And if they can get Dylan Brooks and Ryan Dunn has their 2 point of attack defenders, I really, really love the direction they're going in. And in terms of that 10th overall pick, Carter Bryant, I really, really like. I know the counting stats aren't really there for him in college, but he's a perfect plug-and-play guy on this Phoenix Suns team that can space, has the form to really be a good shooter in this league, has the athleticism to be a really, really good defender and slasher in this league. But the only thing about Carter Bryant is, like, I think he's a little bit similar to, like, Ryan Dunn in a way, of like being just a really good role player. Like, does Phoenix look at this 10th overall pick, because they do have a back end first rounder in this year's draft, to maybe take a swing on a guy with more upside? In my opinion, I'm looking Carter Bryant. I'm looking Mally Watch if you want to address the big situation in this year's draft. But if you're drafting Kaman at 10, you definitely need to add another formidable body inside and free agency. And then looking at like somebody like Colin Murray-Boyles, defensively, offensively, question marks, but you're pairing it on a team with Jalen Green, Devin Booker, you still have Bradley Beal. Offensively, I think this Phoenix Suns team is always going to be fine when you have Devin Booker and Jalen Green and Bradley Beal. Offensively, I think they're going to be just fine, but it's defensively they need to take a jump. They need to take a real look at their defense and really get better on that side of the ball when you look at the teams they're going to have to go up against in the Western Conference, because I feel like this Phoenix Suns team is going to accept Devin Booker's wishes and really look to compete, because I don't think the Suns are so far off as people think. I just think a lot of this was bad fit and bad culture there in Phoenix rather than it was a talent thing. Like, Devin Booker is still a top 2 to 3 shooting guard in the league, depending on who you're talking to. I think Devin Booker is still a top 15 player in this league easily. Now you're pairing him up with Jalen Green, who is a young 18 to 22 point per game scorer that still has a ton of upside. You're adding a better culture setter in Dylan Brooks. You have Ryan Dunn, who I really, really liked what you got out of his rookie year. Like, it depends on what else you're going to do this offseason. But at 10, if you're able to add Dylan Brooks with Ryan Dunn, and then you add Colin Murray-Boyles for defense on defense on defense, that can really solve a lot of the perimeter defensive deficiencies that this team has had. And I really like the idea of adding somebody like Colin Murray-Boyles if he is on the board there. Point guard route, I think it's interesting. Guys like Kasparis, Igor Demon at 10. Interesting. I would just look to maybe add more of a veteran guard, maybe somebody of like a Malcolm Brogdon caliber guy, somebody that you can get on a buy low, cheap deal, rather than drafting somebody who is going to have an interesting fit, because you already do have a lot of guards that are going to have the ball in their hands, like Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, unless they find some sort of trade. That's what makes me think they have something in the works, maybe for a Bradley Beal trade or a buyout, because they've been so committed to coming out and saying, we're going to keep Jalen Green. So interested to see what other layer comes out of the Bradley Beal talk in Phoenix. But if I'm Phoenix and I'm looking at this draft, if I can get Carter Bryant, Colin Murray-Boyles at 10, one of those two I think are great fits size, length, defense. Carter Bryant obviously provides you maybe a little bit more spacing off the rip, but Calamari Boyles is probably the second best defender in this draft on the perimeter outside of Cooper Flagg. He might even be a better pure just defender than Cooper Flagg coming out of the gate. But looking at that back half, it's like I really like somebody like Cam Jones. He's somebody that is very good with the ball in his hands. He's somebody that can come off the bench and be a spark for you, and he's going to be more NBA ready than a lot of the guards. I feel like Kasparis, he's going to be more NBA ready than like Igor Demon. He might be more NBA ready than. So more NBA ready guys. It's a little bit of a reach because it's like they have 28 and 10. I'm pretty sure they have 28 if I'm not mistaken. So imagine them back half the first round. It's like, if you're going to go big, the only big I would really, really like for this team right away is Thomas Sorber. And I have no idea where he's going to go because there's a lot of mocks. I've had him going kind of middle teens, early 20s, because a lot of mocks I'm seeing is like the injury's a question mark and everything else like that. They might have him slipping, but I think is more NBA ready and more polished than somebody like Kaman, who might have more upside. But Thomas Sorber, I feel like in Phoenix specifically, would fit them a lot better. But do you want to take that reach at 10? In my opinion, I would just roll the dice, get a big in free agency. I'd go Carter Bryant or Calamari Boyles at 10 to figure out both of those guys fit what you want to do there in Phoenix. And I think them paired with Dillon Brooks, Ryan Dunn from a defensive perspective is really, really nice. And then at the back half, I look at somebody like Cam Jones to be just a guy off the bench that can take care of the ball, that can play the 1, play the 2, very versatile, NBA-ready guy who doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I think could be a really good fit for this Phoenix Suns team. Even if you wanted to go back half the first round and address somebody like Ryan Kalkbrenner, I think that could be an interesting add because he's somebody that is also NBA ready, has really good playmaking ability as well, has somewhat spacing ability. I'm interested to see how he translates to the NBA game for sure coming out of Creighton. But I love this trade for both sides. I love this for Phoenix. I love this for the Houston Rockets. I think both teams won this trade even right now and in the future because if you're the Rockets, you didn't give up anything of your future, of your building blocks in Amen Thompson, Sengun, Jabari Smith Jr., or any important draft capital to where if it doesn't work out with Kevin Durant, you can kind of just wash your hands with the situation. It's not like you were the Suns when you traded for Kevin Durant and it was Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, a ton of draft capital. So you still left yourself in a very, very good position going forward for the now and for the future. And in Phoenix, I think people don't understand how close Phoenix still is to being a really solid team out west. I'm not saying championship contending team. I'm saying a really solid team that can fight for the playoffs on a consistent basis because I think people forget and sleep on how good Devin Booker is just because of how bad the fit. And it seemed like the culture was there in Phoenix in the Kevin Durant era. But I love this trade for both sides. I'm interested to see what else the offseason has in store. Like I said, we got the draft on Wednesday. I have my final NBA mock draft already out on the channel. Make sure you go show that some love. But that is all I have for the Kevin Durant trade breakdown. Let me know what you guys think about this trade in the comments. Was it a win for both sides? Was it an L for both sides? Who won? Who lost this trade in your opinion? But thank you guys for tuning into the Barrel Talk podcast. Hope to see you tune in to future episodes.